Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode in the series A Journey Towards Emotional Self Regulation. I'm Smriti Gopal, an educator, a conscious parenting coach, a conscious living coach, and a present moment awareness coach. So, this happened about 20 years back at Dallas, Texas. I lived there with my two daughters and my husband, and I was a teacher in a school. One evening on a weekend, my husband, me, and the girls, we decided to go to Walmart to do our weekly grocery shopping. There was something about grocery shopping that made me very uncomfortable, but it kept going on until this one day when I was in one of the aisles with my younger daughter in the front of the cart that we use, and my older daughter inside the cart, and we were busy shopping, and my husband was in another aisle. And suddenly, I started feeling really hot and giddy. I didn't know what was happening. I started feeling my chest constricting, and it was getting harder to breathe, and I was panicking because it was getting harder to breathe and taking more inhales rather than exhales because I really didn't know what was happening. And that made it even more worse. Till I had to reach out to my husband, and he rushed in and took me to the emergency. And they did all the tests on me, and everything was okay. This happened a couple of times after when I became inquisitive as to what was happening, and I realized I was having an anxiety attack. So, this, my friends, is an anxiety attack. And I would like to start the emotional turbulence that we're talking about with anxiety because it has been with me for the past 20 years, and I've been learning how to befriend it. And I'm at a place now where I can talk about it. So many of us go through this and we don't know what the name is. We don't know the language to this emotion that we are feeling. And sometimes there is really no substantial reason for us to be getting into this panic attack. For example, in my case, there was the grocery shopping which I was doing, which was kind of stressing me out. But it's not that moment alone, is what I discovered from my 20-year study into my own anxiety. There's a lot of backstory which makes us feel this way. So Brené Brown says anxiety is a place where we go when things are uncertain or when things are too much. So in my experience and from my deep dive into what was happening in my psyche, what was happening in my physical body, what were my thoughts, and all this investigation led to the discovery that there were two things that were fueling my anxiety. And they were, the first one, stuck in the myth of control, and the second one, I was stuck in the myth of perfection. And both these myths do not allow us to make mistakes, and therefore we are not showing up authentically in the moment. I've experienced this even when I give talks and many other situations. The very first time I experienced it was really, really scary. So I get how it feels to have an anxiety attack. And what I'm sharing here today are the tools and the ways of living that I have figured out for myself, which now has reduced the charge of the anxiety, the grip that it has on me. It appears as a feeling or a sensation in the body, and I am able to recognize that it is here and take care of it in the way that it needs to be taken care of. So I hope this video helps you do the same. So there are some things that we need to practice if we are experiencing this anxiety. The first of all is to recognize that this is an anxiety attack, and going to the doctor was extremely important because I needed to make sure that there's nothing else that is the problem. After you've done that and you know this is to do with anxiety, and even the anxiety can come at various different levels and intensities. So please use the required help from doctors, therapists in ways that you think appropriate. And this, what I'm sharing is the way I managed it and brought it to a state where I can live with it. During anxiety, the two things we can do is worry or avoid. So in my case, I worry, but in your case, it may be avoidance. So try to, first of all, recognize where, when, how does it show up, and what's happening when it shows up. Becoming very, very aware, even if it may not happen at the time that the anxiety is happening, because you are so gripped by the anxiety, there's no way you're going to remember to breathe or do anything. We can't practice archery on the battlefield. These practices have to be practiced when there is no anxiety or when there is minimal anxiety, so that it becomes a part of you, the way of breathing. So immediately when you recognize anxiety, that way of breathing sets in, or that mechanism that you're using, which I'll talk about the tools in just a minute, sets in, becomes just an automatic response to this feeling of anxiety. So let's just try to consider what was happening in my body then when this experience first set in. So first of all, the constriction of the throat, the rising of the temperature in the body, the breath not going in and out smoothly, the chest being constricted. Maybe you could even experience pain sometimes in your chest area, making it feel like a heart attack. And then you may profusely sweat, and you may feel giddy, you may feel so panicky and scared that what's going to happen, that it manifests or more of such symptoms, or increases the intensity of these symptoms. So these are some ways that it can show up. I noticed a couple of years back, even the manifestation of the anxiety in the body takes its course. So the first few years I experienced certain things, and then the next, suddenly there was a shift in the experience, and I was like, no, what is this? And it was just showing up in another way. For example, I never had dryness of the mouth and hard time swallowing when it had just begun. But after a few years, I started realizing, especially when the anxiety would set in when I'm doing a talk or any kind of public appearance or anything like that, I would feel that my mouth becomes dry, my throat becomes so dry, and I'm forcing myself to swallow to moisten it. So that's another something that you can notice, that manifestations in the body also keep shifting. So my recommendation is first to recognize that this anxiety attack is happening, or anxiety is something that you are, dealing with, acknowledging it and being okay with it. And of course, when we say welcome anxiety, I know when I was in that state, when somebody said welcome it, allow it, I'd be like, do you know how it feels? Like, there is no way we can welcome it. We want it gone. But yes, through experience, I've realized that wanting it gone only perpetuates it. So that's the one thing that we need to remember at the moment, that it's just best to be in the present with your feelings, and just wherever you're feeling it, giving yourself, like you're caring for a little baby, just giving yourself that utmost care and compassion and allowing it to be there. Because what I realized through my investigation into this anxiety is, this is a manifestation, but it is a manifestation of unhealed trauma from some time in our life. Or it could be a part of you, like an inner child that has not been seen the way that child wanted to be seen. This inner child is calling out for help. So the way I started looking at my anxiety is there is this child in me that is asking for help. And so drop everything, give her the attention, and ask her what is the way that you can care for her. And that really helped me. So inner child work is something which is very effective if you're having anxiety. To figure it out, you can go on my YouTube channel, and I have the inner child meditation. The other thing that helped me a great deal is tapping and meditation. I've been meditating for many, many years now. And in the beginning, I think it was just calling it meditation when I'm actually sitting there and worrying the whole time. But slowly it started, a realization and a recognition started coming. And as that started coming, the quality and the nature of the meditation is shifting moment by moment. So I'm aware of that. But tapping was something that was extremely helpful because you can't. If meditation is not a part of you, it's very hard to bring it in at the time of anxiety. And if breathing is the place where you're struggling in anxiety, then how do you breathe and focus on your breath when that is the place that actually you're feeling the discomfort? These things can be helpful, but until you make them a part of you, they can be challenging. But tapping was something that I could just do anytime, anywhere, and acknowledging the narratives that are already here now, and then seeing it from a different perspective and providing newer narratives which can be helpful to me. That was something that has really, really helped me. So if you haven't yet tried tapping, I suggest you try tapping. And I also have that on my YouTube channel. It's called the Tapping Companion, and there are enough number of topics that I am tapping on, just which is a regular thing for everybody. So there is one on anxiety, there's one on inner critique, because I think the inner critique is also very strong when you're having anxiety, especially for me, because one of the reasons or the fueling agents was perfection. And perfection is like an illusion. There is really nothing that can be perfect, but that's why we can never live up to it, because it is not in existence. But we are striving towards that, and that makes the anxiety even more bigger. But seeing control as an illusion, seeing that perfection doesn't exist, and seeing that it's okay to have flaws, it's okay to have mistakes, are a big part of my journey with anxiety. Another very helpful tool is the investigation, and you can record these investigations in a anxiety journal, if that works for you. Even just writing about it, like writing about it in my posts or whatever, has helped me see it from a very different perspective. So writing about your anxiety, very personally yours, can be extremely fulfilling and meaningful to you. Here are some questions that you can use when you are reflecting. When do you feel anxious? What is the duration of this anxiety attack, or the feeling of anxiety? How long does it stay? What is its historical trajectory? Have you done a kind of a deep dive with therapist or a coach and figured out, or even your own self, have you figured out where in childhood did you experience what you're experiencing now? Or what do you think it could be, the wound that is there within that is calling out for help? What are your worry thoughts that are happening during anxiety, maybe before anxiety, after anxiety? Because when I did this investigation before I did a talk and the anxiety started, I noticed when I was looking into it that when I'm sitting waiting for my turn to talk, the anxiety is very little, a normal amount that anybody would have before going on stage. But when I go on stage, it becomes so strong. And that's where I use my tools. And then when I start talking, it's not there at all. So that's, each of us have it at different times. And then when I finish, it's completely gone. So where, how, when does it start? What is that trajectory of appearance and disappearance in your case? Kind of an investigation has to be done. When you look into your worry thoughts, take each of those worry thoughts one at a time and investigate into them. Find out their validity by questioning them. Is this true? Is this absolutely true? Put them under that the lens of scrutiny and see, but not in an interrogative way, because when you do it in an interrogative way, anxiety increases. But in a more curious, compassionate, and loving way, like this itself takes you away from actually being gripped in the anxiety. So, like I said, in the moment of anxiety, it is very difficult to start something new or do something that you heard somewhere. Like, for example, in this video, it's not possible. You will do those things that you have made as a practice in your daily life. So, if you've started breathing in a way that helps you during your anxiety, and you've done it during the anxiety periods in other times, then it will kick in when you are anxious. But if you've just heard it and somebody said, oh, somebody said my exhale has to be longer, now I'll make it longer, then that can add to the anxiety because it's a completely new thing. So have those standard practices that you do moment by moment by moment, whether you have anxiety or you don't have. For example, meditation, tapping, these things can be a part of our lives. Yoga has also been a very good companion for me. Movement, because movement helps anxiety a lot. So when things are all okay and there's no turbulence, that's when we need to practice all this and make it so much a part of us that it kicks in when the need arises. For example, if my breathing is not the part that's bothering me, then I would focus on my breath and make my exhales longer. But if that's the place where I'm having the anxiety, then I would not worry about that for that moment. Then I would get up and go get a drink of water. Sometimes that helps me. Just the movement from there to the tap and then holding the water falling on your hands, and even washing hands or washing your face can be very, very helpful with cold water. When you learn tapping and you do tapping many times, on-spot tapping can be done. And when you do on-spot tapping and you're already saying, I'm safe, I'm taken care of, I got this, I got this. So that can be very, very helpful. The movement of hands, if you are speaking in public and you have anxiety there, I found that this helps me a lot. The language that you talk to yourself, because I noticed in the initial part of the anxiety, I was actually angry that anxiety was here. And I was more like, when are you going to go? Like, what can I do to get rid of you? And that wasn't helping at all. But the moment you say, oh, okay, you're here, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And I got this, I know I got this. And that confidence of I got this, like telling yourself that, is extremely helpful. And deep within, it's not just a statement, but it is something that that you got this. And why do you know that? Because you've practiced and you've tried it at other times. You cannot say this if it's just a thought in the head or a information that has been given to you. Then you can't say this. If it has become your direct experience, then you can say it. So a direct experience with anxiety and managing anxiety with the tools that you feel called to is extremely important. So try out some tools like meditation, tapping, yoga, the breathing, or Thich Nhat Hanh's breathing meditation, the mindfulness meditation is extremely helpful. And use soothing voices. We are in anxiety, our nervous system is already in a very active state. And so to bring our nervous system to the calm state, soothing voices, moving slowly, and anything that's done in a hurry is avoided at this time. And just sitting and allowing yourself to be and not having plans and agendas in this moment is extremely helpful when you are anxious. It's basically an allowing to be. When you get more practice with meditation and other tools, when you and then come to self-inquiry, then just asking who is the one that's anxious will clearly reveal that it's the false self that is anxious, and the true self is standing there right behind us, waiting to support and shine. So it's all just a recognition of that which is already here. It's here all the time. But when we are more associated with the false self and identified with our body, mind, and the things we do and how we are seen by the world, then these things can come up. And when they come up, they grip us and we almost think that it's over. And what's over is the egoic identity of who I think I am. But the who I am is still resting in peace, even in those moments of anxiety. So if we can tap into this energy during that, then it will be easy for us to recognize the truth and come back to balance. It takes time, but it is possible. And It's possible and it's not possible. It keeps happening, and suddenly you're pleasantly surprised that it was hard to tame anxiety for some reason on a particular day. But to be okay with it, didn't happen this time, we'll try again. And this allowing, this is the peace that one gets by just staying with the anxiety, befriending and embracing anxiety. So I hope this video was helpful. If you found it helpful, please do like and share. If you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe, because you will get notified of the new videos that are coming up. Until we meet again, stay alive to emotional discoveries. Thank you and bye-bye.